Everyone knows the pyramids of Giza are old, but nearly everything you think you know about them is a carefully curated myth, starting with how they were built, what's inside them, and what it's actually like to visit them. The real story involves engineering mysteries, modern scams, and a secret that's been hiding in plain sight. Here is exactly what nobody tells you about the pyramids. 4,500 years. That's how long the pyramids of Giza have been sitting on the edge of Cairo, pretending to be straightforward. Tourists arrive expecting a simple photo opportunity. They leave with sunburn, lighter wallets, and a vague suspicion that some of the locals are running a very organized, very ancient con. And that's before we even get to what the pyramids actually are. The Great Pyramid of Khufu alone contains an estimated 2.3 million blocks of stone, weighing an average of 2.5 tons each. The largest blocks, used in the King's Chamber, weigh around 60 tons and were hauled from Aswan, nearly 1,000 kilometers up the Nile. The entire structure was built in roughly 20 years. That means, assuming work went on year-round, someone was placing a block approximately every 3 minutes. Every 3 minutes for 20 years, with no power tools, no wheels, no pulleys, just limestone, granite, and a lot of questionable back support. The sheer physics of this is where the mystery begins, and it's the first thing nobody tells you. We still don't actually know how they did it, not really. The conventional explanation for how the pyramids were built involves ramps. You've probably seen the diagrams, long sloping causeways of mud brick and rubble leading up the side of the growing pyramid. Workers drag blocks on sledges, pour water on the sand to reduce friction, and slowly, over decades, the thing takes shape. It sounds reasonable. It also doesn't work. Here's the physics problem. If the ramp is shallow enough for workers to drag a 2.5-ton block up it, say a 10% incline, the ramp has to be roughly 10 times longer than the pyramid is tall. That means for a pyramid 466 meters high, the ramp would be nearly 1.5 kilometers long, and the volume of such a ramp, it would be multiple times the volume of the pyramid itself. That's a lot of mud brick, and archaeologists have found precisely zero evidence of these enormous ramps anywhere on the Giza Plateau. So maybe they used spiral ramps instead, wrapping around the structure, but those have their own problems. Every corner creates a bottleneck. Imagine 20 work crews trying to turn 2.5-ton blocks around 90-degree corners in single file, 20 times on the way up. The pace would slow to a crawl. Remember the 3 minutes per block requirement? Not happening with spiral ramps. This is the gap in our understanding. We know what they achieved, we just don't know how they achieved it. Recent research suggests we might be looking at the whole problem backwards. A study published in 2025 proposes something radical. The Great Pyramid may not have been built upward at all. Instead, it might have been assembled downward within a pre-existing geological depression. The idea is that natural sedimentation and Nile flood dynamics over millennia reshaped the surrounding landscape, creating the illusion of an above-ground monument. The pyramids weren't lifted, the ground around them rose. But there's a more mainstream, equally fascinating possibility. Other researchers have pointed to an internal ramp system, one built inside the pyramid itself. In 2023, the Scan Pyramids project discovered a hidden corridor inside the Great Pyramid, and observations of the internal masonry structure reveal what appear to be ascending and descending passages that could have functioned as pulley-like systems. According to this theory, the builders used counterweights sliding down ramps to lift blocks upward. The Grand Gallery, the ascending passage, and even the so-called antechamber may have been part of a massive internal machine for lifting stones. The blocks were guided by sliding counterweights, eliminating the need for massive external ramps. The construction was not a brute force drag operation. It was a sophisticated engineering system. The reason nobody found the evidence is simple. The evidence was inside the pyramid the whole time. Most people arrive at Giza expecting to see tombs. They walk away having seen a monument to the dead. But the truth is stranger. These structures were not just burial chambers. They were engineered puzzles, each one a statement of power wrapped in mathematical precision. And here's the real kicker. The pyramids of Giza are still revealing secrets. In 2025, researchers from Cairo University and the Technical University of Munich announced a discovery at the Pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest of the three main pyramids. Using ground-penetrating radar and ultrasound, they identified two hollow spaces hidden behind the eastern face of the pyramid. These voids are consistent with the dimensions and location of a second, previously unknown entrance. The eastern face has long puzzled archaeologists because its granite blocks are unusually polished, matching the finish found at the known entrance on the northern side. These polished stones have been sitting there for 4,500 years, waiting for someone to ask, why does this wall look like a door? The hypothesis of a second entrance has now become quite plausible, according to the lead researcher. If confirmed, it means one of the most studied monuments on Earth still has secrets. The pyramids are not static relics. They are active archaeological sites, still in the process of being understood. Everyone talks about the Great Pyramid of Khufu. The Pyramid of Khafre gets attention for its limestone cap. But the Pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest of the three, is quietly the most intriguing of them all. At just 65 meters tall, it's a fraction of the Great Pyramid's size, and yet it's the one that keeps surprising archaeologists. Menkaure's pyramid was originally faced with granite, not limestone, on its lower levels, a costly material that hints at its importance. But the real mystery lies beneath. In 2025, the discovery of two hidden voids on its eastern face suggests an entire second entrance has been hiding in plain sight. If confirmed, it would rewrite the history of not just Menkaure's pyramid, but the entire Giza complex. Why would a smaller pyramid have a second entrance when the larger ones don't? The answer might lie in ancient Egyptian religious beliefs, or it might point to something more practical. The pyramid was never finished, and the second entrance was an engineering shortcut. But here's what nobody tells you. Menkaure's pyramid is also the one most accessible to tourists. You can enter it for a fraction of the cost of the Great Pyramid. The passage is less claustrophobic, and the experience is somehow more intimate. You emerge not feeling overwhelmed, but connected. It's also the pyramid that reveals the most about the builders themselves. The quarry marks, the tool scratches, the unfinished sections, they're all visible. It's like walking through a construction site that was abandoned yesterday, not 4.5 millennia ago. And that's the forgotten truth about the pyramids. The biggest one gets all the attention, but the smallest one has the most to say. But let's shift from ancient engineering to modern reality, because this is where the real surprises start. Nobody talks about what it's actually like to visit the pyramids. First, practical realities. The Giza Plateau opens at 7 a.m. and closes by 5 p.m., with security pressuring visitors to leave by 4 p.m. The golden hour light for photography happens when the sun is low, but that's also when they're pushing you out. The site is also very exposed. There is no shade, the wind kicks up sand. It's not a stroll through a museum, it's a hike across a dusty plateau with 14 million other tourists. Second, the scams. They are legendary and highly organized. If you're approached by someone offering to help, insisting their staff, or offering a free guide, they are not helping. They are part of a system. The camel rides are particularly notorious. You agree to a price to get on, but the price to get off is a different conversation entirely. The standard advice is simple. Ignore anyone who approaches you. Use rideshare apps like Uber to avoid taxi haggling. Carry small bills, and never, ever buy tickets from anyone except the official ticket office. Third, the interior experience. You can go inside the Great Pyramid of Khufu or the Pyramid of Menkaure for an additional fee, but the experience is not for everyone. The passages are narrow, steep, and confining. You stoop through low ceilings, the air is stifling, and you emerge sweaty and possibly claustrophobic. There is no grand reveal at the end, just an empty chamber with a sarcophagus. The journey is the point. And finally, the parking. The official parking area is a full kilometer from the main entrance. You will walk. A lot. These are the details that the glossy travel photos omit. The pyramids are magnificent, but they are also challenging. They demand preparation, patience, and a willingness to navigate chaos. If you're planning to visit the pyramids of Giza, your timing matters. The best time to go is early morning. Arrive when they open at 7 a.m. to avoid the crowds and the peak sun. You should also avoid weekends, which in Egypt fall on Fridays and Saturdays, and steer clear of national holidays. Plan to spend 3 to 5 hours on site and bring sunscreen, a hat, and comfortable shoes with thick soles. The terrain is uneven, and sandals are a recipe for pain. As for what to wear, light-colored clothing with UV protection is recommended. Long sleeves and breathable fabrics are better than shorts. And if you're a woman, some travelers suggest wearing a wedding ring to discourage unwanted attention. Tickets are around $14 to $15 for the general site, with additional fees for entering the pyramids themselves. The interior of the Great Pyramid is challenging, but it's also the best opportunity to experience the engineering marvel up close. And if you want to take the classic 3 pyramids in a row photo, head to the panorama point. For something more creative, position yourself on the east side of the Sphinx for a forced perspective kiss shot. There's a version of the pyramids that most visitors never see. It exists before 7 a.m., when the site is empty and the only sound is the wind. It exists after 5 p.m., when the guards have gone and the light turns the limestone to gold. And it exists in the stories of the locals who live in the shadow of the monuments. The village of Nazlet El Saman sits literally at the foot of the Giza Plateau. Its residents have been living beside the pyramids for generations. They are the ones who know the site best, not the official guides, not the archaeologists, but the people who grew up playing in the shadow of the Sphinx. They'll tell you the stories that never make it into the guidebooks. They'll point out the constellations carved into the walls that no tourist ever notices. They'll tell you about the underground chambers that are off-limits to visitors, the tunnels that connect the pyramids, the hidden passages that even the archaeologists haven't mapped. And they'll tell you something that will change the way you see the whole place. The pyramids are not monuments to death. They are monuments to life, to the belief that the journey continues beyond the visible world. The official narrative treats the pyramids as tombs. The locals treat them as something more alive. In their stories, the stones breathe. The spirits of the builders still walk the plateau at night. The pyramids are not dead structures. They are watchful, present, waiting. It's easy to dismiss these stories as folklore, but spend an evening on the plateau with someone who grew up there, and you might start to wonder. There's a reason the pyramids have endured for 4,500 years. It's not just the engineering, it's the belief. And that's the dimension of the pyramids that the sunset photos will never capture. The pyramids of Giza are the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and the only ones still standing. They are 4,500 years old, contain 2.3 million blocks of stone, and we still don't agree on how they were built. Understanding the pyramids means understanding 3 things: the engineering brilliance of the ancient Egyptians, the logistical chaos of modern tourism, and the living culture that surrounds them. The secret nobody tells you is that the pyramids are a test. They test your patience, your wallet, and your willingness to climb into a cramped, hot tunnel for the privilege of seeing an empty stone box. But they also test your ability to see beyond the guidebooks. If you pass the test, you earn a memory that no amount of sunburn can ruin. You see not just stones, but a civilization, not just a tomb, but a statement of human possibility. The ancient world was smarter than we give it credit for. The modern world is more chaotic than the guidebooks admit. Both truths live at the pyramids of Giza. The world is bigger than you think. Now you know a little more of it. Hit subscribe if you love exploring the unexpected. See you on the next journey.